Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for coming. Welcome to Elyria City Schools. My name is Ann Schloss. I'm the superintendent of the Elyria City School District. I'll introduce our guests. At my far right is Sergeant Lance from the Elyria Police Department. Next to Sergeant Lance is our new police chief, Bill Pelko. And right next to me, closest to my right, is our mayor, Frank Whitfield. And we wanted to come together to show that this is a community problem, not a school problem. So I thank you very much for coming today. We wanted to address the recent events on social media mainly that have targeted school safety. We know it's important to raise awareness, to be vigilant, to make sure that everyone's aware of what is going on, but we also wanted everyone to know that they play a role in our young students' lives and what they can do to help us help themselves when they're making bad choices or poor choices. So we wanted to start by kind of defining what a threat is. We've been asked this over and over by parents and others, but a threat is any time there is talk of any harm to someone, or when there's a weapon of any kind brought into the school setting, specifically for our district. Over the last months, we've seen the number of threats increase, and I think all of you have heard that on TV with the news and read it in newspapers and across the radio stations, have listened to it. We have to, as a district, take these threats very seriously. I know at times we've heard that students are just being students, kids are being kids. That's not going to fly with us. We take them seriously each and every time something happens. We owe that to everyone for school safety. First and foremost, that is one thing we want to guarantee as much as possible for our students is to be a part of a safe learning environment in the Elyria City Schools. At no time do we ever want to diminish or downplay any threat at any time. We know when this behavior happens, there's always consequences, and sometimes that's at the school district level, and sometimes it gets as far as the criminal level, which Chief Pelko and Sergeant Lance will speak to in a little bit. We also know that every time these threats happen, it's a huge disruption to the school environment and the day-to-day school operations. And at no time do we ever want any of our students to feel unsafe or that they can't come to learn each and every day in the Elyria City Schools. We really want to reach out to the parents, the community, and any stakeholder in our community that would like to help and help us be aware. We have this saying in Elyria Schools that when you see it, you say it. When you hear it, you say it. So anytime, and that goes a long way. We've had students, we've had parents. This weekend we had a parent go down to the police station. They saw a post on Instagram that just didn't seem right. And right away they reported it, and it helped us investigate something that wasn't good, and it was a threat to the schools. I know that there are several social media platforms out there that tend to be the, I'll say the ones that we see the most threat-based conversations on, and that is TikTok and Snapchat. And what I can say is the one thing I would ask community members and parents to do is be aware of what their child is doing on their phones and on social media at all times. I know sometimes they feel, and we've heard this over and over from the students that make these threats, well, we thought it was funny, we wanted to be cool and do what the other kids were doing. And we're here to tell you we have to take it seriously, and it's not funny, and it's not cool. Right now, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Pelko and Sergeant Lance to talk a little bit about some of the ways they've had to deal with the threats in our district.
Thank you, Superintendent. So our main concern at the police department is to make sure the students are safe, the teachers are safe, the bus drivers are safe, all the staff are safe, and our citizens are safe. That's going to be our ultimate goal. We are going to take every threat seriously. We're going to investigate it to the fullest ability. And if there's criminal charges, we're going to pursue criminal charges against the student or the adult that was making the threats. We take everything very seriously. That's our job, and we're going to continue to do so. And I can't urge enough that if you see something, you need to say something and let us know, and let us handle it, let us do our job, and let us handle it and investigate the matter.
Yeah, I think it's mindful. Appreciate you brought up a great point, Ann, as far as the parents need to be mindful of what their children are posting on social media. Now we are encouraging parents to reach out, kind of go through. If your children do have social media accounts, go through those. Make sure that the images that they're posting are appropriate, that they're proper. In the particular situation that we investigated over a weekend, we had a young man who posted an image of a firearm from 2 years ago, didn't do anything wrong, and ultimately another student saw that photograph, took that photograph, and then put some verbiage on there that was clearly a threat directed towards our schools. Again, like Chief Pelko reiterated, we take all of these complaints extremely seriously. We will investigate them thoroughly, and if criminal charges are appropriate, we will pursue them.
Mayor?
Yeah, so first off, thank you, Ann, and to Elyria City Schools and to the Elyria Police Department for taking this serious. As a parent who has children inside Elyria City Schools, I want you to take every threat serious, and we appreciate you taking every threat serious because our children are in these schools. And I get that parents right now are struggling with so many other obstacles in life that it's tough to add another thing to the list of things to do, but this is too important to let fall by the wayside. And we need our parents to ask our children to show them their social media accounts and show what they're posting and liking. Not just looking for threats of violence, but also just to understand what's going on in their child's world. They could also be subject to bullying online as well. So really to open up their world to what's happening in their children's lives. And I know it's uncomfortable. I've had that conversation with my daughter before where I've said, hey, show me your social media. And it's a very uncomfortable conversation. And then you say, all right, show me what you're liking on social media. And it's a little intrusive, but we're the first generation that has to deal with this. And so we have to meet this moment as parents, and we have to step it up and be willing to have those uncomfortable conversations. And I just would caution us not to be unknowingly following this experiment that we're in, and in terms of social media and technology, and following this down to the demise of our children. I'm encouraging us to continue to remain vigilant, not only for the sake of our children, but for our school community, our city, and ultimately, as Ann was just sharing with me, this is something that's going on around the country. So I think it's pertinent upon us right now to meet this moment and have those uncomfortable conversations with our children. And as was said before, if you see something, the schools have resources here. If you see your child is dealing with issues, mental, social, emotional issues, the school, and I'll let Ann speak directly to the type of resources they have here. If it's, and as Chief Pelko said, let the experts do their job. They can determine if it's escalated to the point of, all right, this is a little further and we need to go further with it, but start with your schools, let them know, and they've done a great job communicating, Amy and her team and you folks here. If it's escalated to that point, they've let the police department know, but we need you all to trust us as parents, trust us as a community to share that information.
Sure. And we keep coming back. We kind of live by the rule of awareness, vigilance, accountability, and reporting. And that goes a little bit to what Mayor Whitfield said. If you do see at any time one of your children struggling, let us know. We can provide you resources, agencies to help out, or even our own staff that can help out. And we understand that there is a fear in coming forward, but we're here to help. And that's our main goal, is to work with these students and help. But again, providing the safest learning environment we can for not only the students, but our staff. I have to commend the partnership we have with the police department, the mayor, and the city of Elyria, and also the staff of Elyria City Schools and our families. we work together to do what's best each and every day for our students. It's unfortunate we're dealing with this. I do think social media has a big part in this. And everyone always says, what's your wish for Christmas? And, you know, as much as I love keeping in contact with old friends and everything on these social media platforms, they really, in an educational setting, are not always positive and really do play a role in some of the things we're dealing with. At this point, I think we'll open it up for any questions that you might have. Yeah.
Speaking about social media, after speaking with law enforcement agencies over the past couple of months, they indicate one of the common denominators is these young kids believe that they're invisible on social media and that their threats or their rumors that they're repeating cannot be traced back to them. Can you and perhaps the chief and the sergeant address that, let the students know that in fact they are leaving an electronic trail behind every time that they send something?
Sure. And I will say, we investigate fully each and every threat, and working with the EPD, and they can tell you a little bit more about the technical part of this, but we have pretty much found every student or individual that has posted something that they should have not posted. So there are ways. You are not invisible. And I'll let Chief and Sergeant Lance speak a little more to that technical part.
Yes. So 2 of our incidents this last week were involved with just exactly what you're saying, old photographs that were either doctored up or resurfaced on the internet, and the stuff doesn't go away. I would strongly urge, as a parent myself, go through your kids' social media. If there's stuff with guns, or that could be interpreted as threatening, I would take that off. So no other student or adult or anyone can doctor it up and make it into a threat or somewhat of a threat. So like I said, 2 of our incidents were just exactly what you said. We were able to trace it back to photos and videos from one was a couple months ago and one was a couple years ago.
So I just speaking on that, I can tell you, we got the complaint forwarded to us around 5:30 Sunday, and by 7 o'clock, we're knocking at their door. So yeah, we do have the resources to track these subjects down when there's actionable information. What I see is clearly a separation between actionable information and rumor control. That's one thing that we also need to encourage is rumor control. If you're hearing rumors, don't continue to spread them. Just forward them to the appropriate representatives, either school officials or if there's threats of harm to law enforcement agencies. Help us control the situation by not continuing to, escalate and continue these rumors. If there's actionable information, whether they be photographs or any clear threats that are clearly communicated, try to gather as much information. If you can screenshot that information and again forward that to the school or the law enforcement agency.
Another common denominator in the cases, speaking to the investigators, is that especially the young guys think that they can get a day off from school if they forward a threat or repeat it. What would your message be to young students that think they're going to get a day off from school by creating the perception that there's a threat?
Well, we talked about that, didn't we, Bill? And really, I asked Bill one day, Chief, I should call you Chief Palco, sorry. Chief Palco, should we call off school today from this threat? And it was around the TikTok that we just had, what was that, Thursday the 17th? Yes. And it was unsubstantiated, which is really what we look at. Have we found anything that has given it any validity, anything that's credible? And in all our investigation, we did not. Now, have we called off school before because of something? Yes, in the past we have. So it's really each situation we look at what we need to do.
Chief, what would your message be to those students that think that they're going to get a day off?
Well, I would tell them that we collaborate with the school to decide whether it's a credible threat, and we'll make the decision based on that. Every situation's different. But as we can see, the past couple of times, school hasn't been canceled. They're going to end up going to school. And eventually, even if you don't have school, you're going to have to make the school day up. Am I right on that?
Sure.
So you might have a day off now, but you're going to have to make it up at the end of the year. But, we're going to pursue it, and you're probably still going to have to go to school.
One thing we do have resource officers in our buildings, and often the chief will have unmarked cars around and we do up the security if we feel that there's a need, just to make everyone feel safe and knowing. But we, again, our resource officers are there to build relationships with the students, which often leads to us hearing about things around the community. So it's a good partnership.
It also seems that a lot of students don't understand there are long-term consequences when you get involved in one of these threats, online or otherwise. Can you talk about the message that you would have for students about the long-range ramifications if you are caught making these kind of threats?
Absolutely. That's the hard part. We want to protect the students that are trying to learn each and every day, but we want to protect the students that are making poor choices just as much. And I don't think they realize that the ramifications that come with this, which is why right after the first of the year we have set up, we are going to have assemblies for our students talking about exactly what can happen in these cases. That might make it a little bit of a stronger message. The police and our administrators in our buildings are going to work with the students right after the first of the year.
Can you tell us now, basically what would happen to a student involved in this kind of threat?
Sure. Well, I'm going to actually let the police tell you that. The criminal in our for the school, it could lead up to expulsion. I will tell you that. But that's something that's done through a hearing, and it's not definite. As far as the police we have had a few.
Yeah, so we call the detention home, and we try to get them into the detention home. It all depends on what exactly happened. We got to give them a synopsis of the case. And like the case on Sunday night, that individual was sent to the detention home. So he spent the night in the detention home. The next day, he would have a hearing in front of a magistrate, and then he's in the justice system, and the justice system will do its thing and hopefully get that individual some appropriate counseling. So he won't make the same mistake again and turn into a productive citizen of the city of Elyria. Now, some of the other threats we turned out not to be valid, and what we end up doing with that is we'll turn the report over to our juvenile prosecutors, let them just review it, and if they think there's charges, they will go ahead and issue charges through juvenile court. If not, it's just documented in the report.
Have you seen an increase in threats, and how much of an increase would you say that you've seen this school year?
I will say we've seen a huge increase this school year. We typically don't deal with the frequency that we're dealing with now. And I think I have to say that I think all these TikTok challenges have led to a lot of that, the social media. I think students had some time over the last year and a half to 2 years where they were doing more social media things because they weren't in school like they always are. It was a different type of platform, so to speak. I know we have, crisis in a lot of families right now with the pandemic. And there's a lot of reasons for it that could lend to it. But I do think that the more the social media plays a role in the day-to-day lives of students, we're going to see this type of behavior. I know it started the school year with all the challenges of the stealing things and all of that, and it just kind of evolved because they started to get into a more threatening type. I know there was hit a teacher, there was bring a gun to school day, all on TikTok. And those types of things just lend to students thinking they're going to join in on what they consider the fun. And I do credit that to a lot of this behavior because we haven't seen it like this. I've been in this district 30 years, and I've not seen the threats like this before.
Would you say you've had dozens since the beginning of the year?
Probably, yes. Yes, probably the last 3 to 4 weeks, very intense, and most of them have been documented through the media. But yes, I would say dozens since the beginning of the year.
And how does this impact the children that really do want to learn?
Exactly. Fortunately, some of them, we've been dealing with a lot of them on the weekends or in the evenings as we get calls from parents or reports. We had one this weekend where a concerned citizen went right to the police station, and we dealt with it. So some of it is removed enough that they don't see it day to day within their buildings, but we've had to go into a hold situation here or there with threats or a lockdown, and they do. And some of the children do get scared in those situations, rightly so. But we are very vigilant about calling the parents, explaining what happens so that they can have those conversations with their child. And if need be, we have social workers and counselors in every building. So they go into class and they talk it through. But you're right. That is not the environment I want Elyria Pioneer children to be learning in. And, I know my colleagues in the county and around the state are dealing with the same thing. And that is very sad. Yeah. And that is why we wanted to come together and talk about, as a community, what can we do to help each other? Really monitor our young adults and our children, because a lot of times they don't really realize what they're doing and the effect they have. In some families, guns are part of a sport that they do as a family, but yet they don't realize that it can have another side to it. And I think that it's our duty as the adults in the community to help our young children.
Yeah, if I was to add to that, I'd say, a part of what I just heard is, Elyria isn't unique in dealing with this challenge around the state and around the country. I think the uniqueness is that we as a community are trying to act upon it, and we're trying to work together as a city and school, and even encouraging our community to be proactive. And I see today somewhat as a call to action for our community to kind of step up its vigilance on monitoring our children, on saying something if they see something, and really reaching out for those resources. As I mentioned earlier, we're in some tough times right now, period. You see the kind of increase in violent behavior all over the place, whether you're in traffic, whether you're in the line at the grocery store. So it's not unique to just children that we're seeing this. It's unfortunate when we see it amongst children, but it's not unique. And I think we need to do our best to take a breath and as a society and try to do what we can to take care of our mental and emotional needs. I'm hoping that as a city we can put more resources into mental and emotional health because we're already on edge, and things like this aren't helping. And especially for our young people who are already afraid of getting sick going to school, and this is just one more fear to add. So I just think as a community, we got to do what we can to come together during these times because the challenges aren't going anywhere. So we just better do our part and just working together to try to get through them.
And again, I can't say enough about reaching out. If you need to reach out to the district, but first and foremost, if you see something that just doesn't seem right, I would say go to the police first and foremost if it's out of school hours, but if it's something violent, absolutely go right to the police or call the Lorain County Sheriff's Department. And there is a hotline, a anonymous tip line. It's 844-SAFER-OH. And we also have a hotline with the school on our webpage that can be, you can write something in if you see it. So there's many ways to help. If you need to talk to us, and we can give you ways that you can help, but I can kind of end this unless there are additional, I'm sorry.
Could you just give us the specifics on the student assemblies that you're going to be holding?
Sure.
For what ages and specifically what the children are going to be told?
Sure. I think what we're talking about in the younger students, classroom visits with the social workers and the counselors, and the police in a much different way. For our middle schoolers, intermediate, middle, and high school, we're going to partner with the EPD and talk about, exactly what a threat is and exactly what we shouldn't see as far as social media posts. Really to be also very accountable for what comes out of your mouth, because, even just saying, I'm going to, bring a gun to school and take care of it or whatever, that, we have to take that seriously. Anytime any type of weapon or threat is made, even if you don't mean it, and that's the hardest part about speaking to some of the children that have done this is, well, I didn't mean it, it just came out, I was angry. Well, in this day and age, we have to take that seriously. And I think that's the message. We've done it before, but I think we have to take another step at and stab at it that's a little more serious with the police department and answer their questions.
Is there anything else that you all have planned to try to combat this in the schools besides the assemblies?
We do. We just received a grant through the Nord Foundation to work with parents. And we have some events set up this spring to work with parents that are going through crisis or need help on finding resources for their families in many different ways. So again, we hired new social workers. We have social workers in every building that work a lot with parents and students, along with the many counselors we have. So that is something we did knowing that we had a lot of families in crisis at the beginning of the year. So we will always try to be proactive, but at times when we see things happening, we add another layer in a reactive way. But we like to put things in place right away.
Are all the threats coming from children whose family are in crisis, or is it
Variety, yeah. I wouldn't say that, but, we do know that does lend to it.
And just for context purposes, I think it's important to know, Elyria is a city of over 53,000 people. There's over 6,500 students in this district. So, there's a lot of people that we're serving and taking care of. So you're going to have some incidents that we have to address. I think, again, what I'm proud of is that this group here is taking everything seriously and not saying, hey, that's only a few kids out of the 6,500. Let's keep doing business as usual, that we're taking it serious.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for being here. Let us know if there's anything we can do to address any questions. Thank you.